Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Unscaled Travel Show. I'm Jeremy Long, your host, here with my co-host and co-explorer, Amy.
Hello.
We are in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios. We have a really fun show lined up for you today. Another in a series of shows now that we've done, basically encouraging people to skip certain things and instead, find a few different things to do in their schedules. Does that make any sense?
I think we're saying if you've done the obvious tourist attractions, here are the next set of things that you should be doing.
Man, you said it way better than I did. I skip all that other junk. Now, so we, a few episodes ago, we talked about things in larger cities like New York and LA. And then we went to slightly smaller cities, I guess medium-sized cities like New Orleans and Seattle, places like that. And now it's smaller areas that still get lots of tourist activity, but small in terms of like population. So we'll be looking at places like Branson, Missouri, and Flagstaff, and even places like Williamsburg, Virginia, which see millions of visitors every single year, but they themselves are a small town.
Right. And that's one of the things a lot of people don't think about is these places that are tourist attractions, a lot of their actual population, people who live here year round, is a very limited number. I know, for instance, Branson, because my parents live in the area, that most people that work in Branson do not live in Branson city limits. They live in other small towns. And they drive into the city of Branson because that is like the biggest industry in the area.
Yeah. And they say things like, I live up the ways a bit. And that is an actual...
down the road.
Yeah, I live down the road a bit, and that's an actual unit of measurement, I think south of the Mason-Dixon.
It's like 10 miles as the crow flies.
As the crow flies. So let's start. That's a good place to begin in Branson because it's a place that you and I have been there a number of times since your parents do live in that area. Mm-hmm. And even when I was younger, I lived across the border in Oklahoma, and it wasn't that far of a drive from where we lived outside of Tulsa to Branson. So I remember Branson from when I was a little kid. And since then, it's like, how do you describe Branson for someone who's never been? It's like a country Las Vegas.
Yes. It is
without the casinos.
It's more family friendly, but it is country specific, I would say.
Think about musical acts more in the country variety. So really big, Branson and basically Pigeon Forge are basically the same town. So Tennessee and Missouri, right? So it has like a lot of Dolly Parton influence. Both places do. And they have old timey country bands like the Gaithers, and people like that, right? You're laughing at me that I would know that, but
no, I was going to say that too. And then I was like, are people going to know who the Gaithers are?
I think if they follow our show, they do. You might have some kids out there going, I don't know who that is, but like, Backstreet Boys, if they were country and old white people.
Oh my God.
And sing Christian music sometimes.
Well,
right?
That's the other thing to note. Branson,
Christian gospel
yes,
music.
Branson is in, I guess, kind of the Bible Belt, so there is a very heavy Christian influence in the area too. But there are a lot of things to do there that are not religion based, but I would say a good majority are. So if you're thinking about going to Branson and you are not particularly religious or have strong feelings against it, I would maybe consider going somewhere else.
Yeah, so those are kind of the big things, right? Those country music like mega theaters that they have around there are one of the main draws. And so if you go to Branson, that's probably going to be at the very top of your lists every time. And there, like we said in all the other shows, there's nothing wrong with going to these things and trying them out at least once. Right. Going and figuring out what you like and how everything, fits into your schedule. They have, they even have, well, they used to anyway, like Elvis impersonators and, it's like that kind of feel and everything. But once you've done it, or you've gone to a place like Dolly Parton's Stampede, which if you've never been, Dolly Parton's Stampede is basically dinner theater with horses and pyrotechnics and like patriotism turned up to 11, right? It's Proud to be an American, all kinds of stuff like that. And then there are different museums that are aimed specifically at tourists, like Ripley's Believe It or Not, and different versions of wax museums and things of that nature, that once you've gone and seen them
you've seen it, I would say if you've seen it in another city, there's nothing really new to see in Branson.
Absolutely. Even better. So once you've done that, what is there left to do? Well, and surprisingly, a lot. Mm-hmm. One of the places that your family has ventured out to many times, and it kind of fits into that, maybe more in that gospel realm and outdoor plays and stuff like that, but that is Shepherd of the Hills. Mm-hmm. The Shepherd of the Hills. It also goes by another name. What is it?
They have a Sights and Sound Theater, and this is where they put on, and when I say Broadway level performances, these are performances of Bible stories, but it's incredible. You cannot explain it, but it is, they will have, for instance, they did the Jonah story, and they actually had water on the stage. Like, it's not just a play, it is something that people can actually like interact with and participate. They have live animals. Like, it's incredible to see.
So you're not thinking like community theater.
No.
This is actual, like, I would say even Vegas or New York City level of production.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That just so happened to be around mostly Bible stories, things of that nature. But it is a really incredible place to go visit. All the reviews say so anyway. And so don't take my word for it necessarily. I think I went there once when I was a kid, and it was really magical to see when, I can't even remember what the story was, but I remember they had live pyrotechnics and all of that stuff going on.
My parents have taken our kids, and they still talk about the story that they saw there. And I think they do maybe one story a year, so they do the same one the whole year because it is such a big production.
Yeah, and it's not community theater. I mean, these are professionally trained actors. Some of these people that are with this company are there for decades. Mm-hmm. The person who bought it, the man who bought it, he was a banker out of Springfield, but he knew of it because his grandfather was actually an actor there for like 25 years or something. Okay. So there's a deep connection to it. So it's a wonderful place to check out at least once, right? And that's kind of the same with the other natural escapes that you're in the Ozark Mountains. So, it's an older mountain range. It's more, it's not like the Rockies or something like that, but, think the Appalachians, right? So you're going to have all kinds of state parks like Table Rock State Park, or even the Henning Conservation Area. The Henning Conservation Area is like 1,500 acres of like trails. And it takes you through limestone glades and oak hickory forests and places like that. That when think of fall time in the Ozarks,
yeah, it is beautiful.
Where the leaves are changing color and the waterfalls are picking up, and it's little babbling brooks and things like that.
It is beautiful. They do have a lot of outdoor places that you can play, like water sports, camping, all kinds of stuff. And then if you have little ones who really like zoos, they do have aquariums and zoos, and they have a drive-through zoo called Promised Land Zoo. You don't get out of your car. And at Christmas time, they decorate it all with Christmas lights, and you can drive through it at night too. Which it's not usually open at night, so that kind of makes it a little bit special.
No, yeah, because you would have animals just running up to your car in the middle of the night. That's a different
They're
kind.
Enclosed. No, they're enclosed. Yes, they're completely enclosed.
Can you imagine those ostriches coming at you in the middle of the night? Can you imagine a more terrifying thing than ostriches coming at you?
That would be a little terrifying. You know something I think people can skip, though? The Scenic Railroad.
Oh my
you
gosh.
and I did the Scenic Railroad, and I have to say, if the only thing you want to see are trees, and by see trees, they are right outside the window, then take the Scenic Railroad. But if you want to see anything more than that, I would skip it.
If people ever wanted to book us for a hating the Scenic Railroad ad, I think every time we talk about Branson, we talk about how much we hate that Scenic Railroad they have.
It was very disappointing.
It's We'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Jeremy Long here with my co-explorer, Amy.
Hello.
Check us out online. All of our past episodes and interviews. So we do stick them on podcast platforms wherever you consume. That's like Apple and Spotify, those places. But you also can check us out, unscaledtravelshow.com, and leave us a nice little note, right? Sorry, I'm laughing about like the train thing too, the scenic train. We are just not. That was so disappointing. Sorry, Branson. Another place is one that we frequent pretty often because of its proximity to Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And that is Flagstaff.
Right.
Flagstaff, I don't think immediately jumps out to people because most people treat Flagstaff as just the gateway to the Grand Canyon. It's just kind of a place that they go to, and if they drive in or fly into the vicinity or something like that, they might hop on a tour bus and then book it out of town. They don't really spend a whole lot of time in Flagstaff itself, which is a shame because Flagstaff, it's part like college town. There are a couple of like smaller universities. I think maybe Grand Canyon University or someone like that is around there. But it is very much, it has a younger vibe to it, a younger energy to it. And so people kind of treat it that way. It's like maybe a stop through. Maybe they grab a bite to eat or something like that. And then they head through either to LA, which is further down the road, or Phoenix, which is a couple hours south.
Yeah. I mean, the first time we stopped there, it was a stop through when we were moving from Texas to Las Vegas. And that was one of our stops one night. And we were like, oh, this seems very nice. We should go back and check it out, which we eventually did. But it is kind of just situated on the highway. And if you're not familiar with Flagstaff, you may not realize how many things there are to do there.
Yeah. And I mean, also adjacent to it is like the Route 66. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people that have followed through the U.S. history of like the Route 66, they stop through because pieces of it that are still intact run through and around Flagstaff and the surrounding areas. So you also have kind of the nostalgia of Route 66. You have the Grand Canyon, and there's even things like the Lowell Observatory. Well, the Lowell Observatory, can't say that fast. It's a really cool place. It's very interesting. It's where they discovered Pluto. Have you heard about Pluto? Man, right? That's messed up, right? So, I mean, but beyond a surface level tour of the observatory, it's one of those, I believe it's kind of a one and done. Now, they do events there at the observatory throughout the year. And if you are lucky enough to be there at different times, get tickets and go see, because they have different things. I don't know. They observe at different events, like themed events and things like that. But if you are a tourist from out of town, most of the time you're not planning it around one of those things specifically. But there are plenty of things to do in Flagstaff and around Flagstaff that you should absolutely check out. Absolutely.
I mean, we've been there a few times now, and it's one of those cities that when we go to it, we find something new every time. Mm-hmm. The last time we were there, we didn't realize it, but from May to October in their downtown area, they do a community market every Sunday. So they shut some of the streets down in downtown, and there's a market out there, and there were so many people just walking around. Yeah. It was really nice, and all the businesses participate in it. And one of my favorite locally owned bookstores is down there in Flagstaff, Brightside. Every time we're there, I have to go pick up books. But it was just such a nice community experience.
And that's what I think I mean when I say it has that younger energy. It has a different vibe to it. So I think the community is very much active in the things that are happening in Flagstaff, which gives it a totally different feel than a lot of other towns that just seem kind of, dead for the most part. I mean, for lack of a better word, they don't seem very much into what's going on into the town. So it's hard for new things to happen and develop. But Flagstaff is the opposite of that. But if you do want to go out and see things, and you have gone to the Grand Canyon, you'll be like, wow, that's a big ditch. There are other things like Sunset Crater Volcano National Monument, which is about 30 minutes north of town. But this is where you're going to walk across like lava flows and cinder cones from, they have discovered that eruptions happened there like just 900 years ago, which in, I don't know, in history terms was just like yesterday.
It's not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
Right. Well, and somewhere else that's around 45 minutes from downtown Flagstaff that we've been to is the meteor crater landmark.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, it is just a giant hole in the ground. Well, it's not even a hole. It's a giant.
It's a crater.
It's a crater. But it's one of those things that when you see it, it kind of like puts things into perspective, right? Like it was, at first I was like, why are we going to do this? And then we got there and I was like, wow, I really had no idea, that it was even there, but how huge this meteor crater was.
It's amazing. I mean, if you're going to Flagstaff, you're going specifically to this area, and even some people that are heading further, like an hour and a half, 2 hours south, which is like around Sedona, these kind of places. I mean, you're going to experience the nature. You're wanting to experience these things that are happening, out in the natural earth and everything. So you have that Grand Canyon, you have this meteor strike that people from outside of this area don't really know it's there until you start seeing signs, and you're like, you got to think it's one of these like, oh, it's the biggest ball of yarn or something like that. And you're going to get there and it's going to be this like little lackluster thing until you get there and you're just blown away. Like, wow, this is the thing that killed the dinosaurs, right? It had to be. It had to be something close. It was pretty big, right? And so it's one of these areas where you can literally find things. I mean, even a little bit further out is like Arizona.
Such a great. I don't want to even call it a zoo. It's such a great experience.
I mean, you were talking about in Branson, the drive-through,
yes,
where you have the different enclosures with animals.
This is the next level, though.
Yeah.
Arizona is by far one of those things that anytime somebody's saying they are going to this area, I'm like, you have to do it. Even if you don't have kids, you have to do it.
And right next to, I mentioned Sunset Crater, right next door almost to Sunset Crater is the Wupatki National Monument. And it's a complex basically of, what do you call Puebloan? I'm not saying that right. The Pueblo Indians made up, their home was this area. And so it's these huge ruins, red sandstone walls. It's a beautiful place that has held up surprisingly well in the desert for all of these many, many years. So you can go and explore these ruins and, learn things and do all of that. And it's with the net,
and it's part of the national park system. So if you have your, is it America the Beautiful? Is that what they call it? Mm-hmm. The America the Beautiful Pass, you get in for free.
There's so much to do in that area. Flagstaff it's home to some beautiful, beautiful things.
And if you like stargazing,
dark skies.
Yeah, it's a dark sky area, so you can really see the stars.
Check it out. Tell them we sent you, right? Unscaled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. Almost fell out of my chair here. I'm Jeremy Long. Here with my co-host, co-explorer Amy.
Hello.
We're in beautiful Sin City, Las Vegas, in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios. We're trying to give you some options outside of the obvious things when you go to tourist-friendly cities. Just to kind of, I hate the term off the beaten path, right? Because I think it's overused and overplayed. But at a moment in time, it really did mean something. Mm-hmm. Like, do this, not that. Everyone's going to do this one specific thing, which you should go do once. Okay, it's not like, hey, go to the Coliseum one time, or skip it all together. No. You want to go to it. You want to go see it, but you can't go to the Coliseum every time you go to Rome.
Well, you could, but
that's a bad example.
But are you seeing anything new if you go every time?
I would go to the Coliseum every single time I went to.
You
So
would,
that was a bad
but you're a
example.
history nerd.
I don't know what I was trying to say there.
You're trying to say we're giving people some alternatives.
There you go. You should do this. I should be over there in your chair. Oh, you know something? We were just talking about Flagstaff, but a place that I missed. I normally, and when we do lists like this, I don't like to point out like restaurants and bars, places like that, right? Because it's just a restaurant and a bar. Okay, come try our cheese sticks. Cool. That's fine, right? But in Flagstaff, the Hotel Monte Vista. The Hotel Monte Vista is one of those, it's been there for a very, very long time. It's iconic to that area. I think it opened in the late 20s or something like that. But it has, if you like paranormal stuff in Flagstaff, it's the hotel. It has underground tunnels that connect the old parts of the city. It has all kinds of bootlegging and prohibition stories from that era when it opened. Tons of famous guests, from Bing Crosby to Michael J. Fox and Bob Hope and all kinds of people, just totally dating myself here. But also a number of ghost stories, okay?
Interesting.
Like the Meat Man of room 220.
I don't want to hear this story.
Or the rocking chair of room 305. There's a ton of these stories at the Hotel Monte Vista in downtown Flagstaff that if you go to Flagstaff, stay there. Check it out. Let me know what you think.
Maybe we need to go stay there. I don't know.
We should. Instead of talking about those fun ghost stories, let's shift our focus.
We'll talk about those in a few weeks. How about that?
Okay. We shift our focus to Brazos Valley, Texas. The Brazos Valley is a collection of towns that it sits about an hour northwest of Houston. And this is where the Houston Metroplex kind of fades to the background. And it's along Highway 290 that connects Houston to Austin. So the Metroplex fades to the background and you end up with cow pastures. And more recently, in the last couple of decades, lots of wineries.
Yeah.
Lots of small town Americana in places like Brenham, Texas, Bryan, Texas, Navasota.
I think we need to explain to people why Brenham matters to them. If you like ice cream, there is a brand.
Why does Brenham matter to you?
If you like ice cream, there is a brand a lot of people have heard of. It is Bluebell Creamery, I think is what it's called. Mm-hmm. And it is in Brenham, Texas. And this is where you can go. You were there not too long ago, right? Is it like a museum or is it just a factory?
No, Brenham. So the Bluebell Creamery, and I think they have 2 or 3 creameries now, but this is the original one. So it is a still working creamery. This is where a lot of the ice cream that gets distributed through the South and even our part here in Las Vegas. But it is part museum, and it actually has a store. And, you know, you can go there, and I would spend every single day. You know, I just mentioned, I would go to the Coliseum. Yeah. If I lived in Brenham, I would be at the creamery.
Because they sell flavors there that they don't sell in the store.
Yeah. You can get flavors there that they don't have anywhere else. Discontinued stuff. They bring back older flavors that I've taken out of circulation. I had my fill of red velvet cake ice cream while I was there.
I think it's one of those things that a lot of people would say skip it, but if you really like ice cream, you could go every single time.
Yeah, and also there's a lot of fascinating history that's lined up to that as well, and all the different things they've done to pivot and survive different hard downturns in the economy during the wars, you know, different things of that nature. Because it is that whole area. You talk about college towns, and I was just talking about, you know, Flagstaff being a college town. That whole area kind of feeds into the university, Texas A&M University. Mm-hmm. And so everything, or a lot of things out there, kind of circle around that life, university life, football players, the team, the basketball, whatever. And so you have these kind of things that just, once you do one of those things, or if you don't have a kid that goes to the university, or you yourself didn't graduate from the university, it gets to be, it can be redundant in a lot of areas. And then they have the things like the outlet malls that are along 290 and different things of that. They even have like, I mentioned vineyards and wineries, and they do kind of have some of those. It's natural to have generic wineries that just kind of pop up. People with money just pop something up and they're like, oh, people will just go to it. And it's there, but they have a ton of like mom and pop smaller wineries that are worth the visit. Which
you just had the luxury of visiting several of them. You were on a guided tour and was taken to 3 or 4 of these in 1 week. And you were calling me, telling me how interesting it was because these were very small wineries. You're talking to the actual owners. I think you said part of their house they had turned into a winery. So you are really talking to the people who are in it and living it every day. And it was a different experience than the really large, almost corporate wineries that we've been to.
Absolutely. A place like that is called Threshold Vineyards, that sits actually closer to, I want to say it is, I don't know. I think it's just south of Navasota. And there's a ton of places like that if you just do a little bit of research, you'll find them there in the foothills, like Texas Star Winery and places like this, that you're still going to get your feel of maybe a good bachelorette weekend or party, just a weekend, like a couple's weekend or something like that, without the corporate feel or the corporate slog or even the corporate prices.
Yeah.
That you can face anywhere else. So keep it right here. We're going to talk about the Brazos Valley. Unscaled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. Jeremy Long here with my co-host and co-explorer, Amy.
Hello.
We're in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios. We're so happy that you are here with us. We're talking about things you should do when you're visiting the Brazos Valley right outside of Houston that are a little bit different than the normal things you would do. Hopefully to get you, I hate this term, off the beaten path, right? So we're talking specifically, now the Brazos Valley in Texas goes, I think, past Waco all the way down to Houston and encompasses like a lot of small towns that do make up this Brazos Valley kind of area. But specifically, we're talking about the kind of the triangle of Bryan, Texas, Brenham, and Navasota. And around that area, in and around that area, are bigger places like College Station, which is home to University of I keep calling it the University of Texas. It's not UT. Sorry, Texas A&M University. I know the Aggies out there will not like me for that, but it has places like Chapel Hill. It has places like Washington on the Brazos, and even an area where I think your grandfather is from.
Yeah, my grandfather grew up in Caldwell, which is a little bit north of this triangle, but still part of Brazos Valley. And I just saw him a few weeks ago, and he was telling me stories about growing up there and how his mother had a dairy farm. And they would go and help deliver the milk to people. That's what they did during the day in the summer. And then in the afternoon, they'd grab their fishing poles and then just go to the creek and fish. And he was just talking about how amazing growing up in this area was.
Yeah. And believe it or not, it hasn't changed all that much. Now Bryan and College Station, like I said, are probably the bigger cities in this area. And I mentioned the places like shopping. There are outlet malls, and it is in the shadow of the Houston Metroplex. But Bryan, Chapel Hill, Brenham, all of these places have amazing downtowns. And this is where you're going to find like that true Americana, that true like mom and pop shop kind of feel of just walking the downtown. You park, you don't have to pay for parking. Okay. Well, some places I think you do. But you leave your car and you just walk, and every shop is owned by someone local.
Right.
And it's the restaurants, and it's the little bars and little wine grottos and all the little things like that. And they have the small town festivals, and because I think when I visited for an official press trip like couple years ago, I think Chapel Hill was having like I don't know, like a Texas Heritage Festival. And it was like the entire town, which is like 1,000 people, was out, and it's a little parade, and it's but you can go get a hat made and get customized boots and different things like that. And it's just such a wonderful place that it really, once you drive and you make those drive in between these little towns, you still see all the working dairy farms, and you still see all the working little areas where it's just kind of at a slower pace.
It is. And it's the area too is significant to Texas history. So if you're interested in Texas history, it's very rich in that. But something I just found out, and I don't know if you know this, but Navasota is considered the blues capital of Texas.
I think they told me that.
Yeah, and
when I went there,
there's a lot of little music halls and venues where you can go hear blues, and you just don't really kind of think about that like out in the country in Texas.
And in fact, one of the places I did stop, which I would highly recommend, even though we're not talking specifically about restaurants in any of these places, is the Classic Rock Coffee Company and Kitchen. They were kind enough to host us for a meal, and I mean, it's just jam-packed full of rock memorabilia and just music history memorabilia, old pictures and everything, because I think the owners who, are local have that background with music, and it's just a wonderful place to really, stop and check out.
Yeah. I mean, we used to have a Hard Rock hotel casino here in the city, and you could see a lot of that. Now it's gone. So when we go places that I see music memorabilia, I always stop and look at it because I love music, all kinds of music. So places like this really appeal to me. But you are way more, I would say, into the history side, and you love your Texas history, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Washington on the Brazos is like one of the places, I think, where one of the very first Texas flags was commissioned to be created. And so there's all kinds of like little historical nuggets found around every corner in this area, which was so important to like not only the people in Texas. It's not like the history began there. Earlier, I think they found digs and artifacts going back 12,000 years to, more native peoples and everything. They've always considered this valley very important, and it's very, very fertile. And so, people have been in that area for a while, and you can find different things. Something else, which is a little bit, which is totally different than anything else that we've talked about, that I always recommend to people, is the Bee Weaver Honey Farm. Like, you're a believer, you're a bee weaver. It's a working bee honey farm.
Really?
Yes. And unless you're allergic to bees. If you're allergic to bees, don't go here. Okay. Yeah. But it is a real live bee honey farm, and they have thousands and thousands. I don't know how many are in every little box. I don't know, millions maybe. I don't know. But a lot of bees.
The stack thing, is that what you're talking about? Yeah, the little
bee stacks.
I don't know. I'm not a bee farmer.
Okay, you're asking me. I don't know. But they break down how they do it, their history, and I think Bee Weaver has been around for almost 100 years, and it's been in the same family. It's still in the same family. They have people that have worked with them for like 40 and 50 years that know the history and the everything to do with bees, and it's just one of these things that's so far out of left field sometimes. But even when we went there, not only did we see families with young kids, but also I saw there was a group of guys, and they're like, yeah, this is part of our bachelor.
Really?
It was like a bachelor party weekend, and they were at the Bee Weaver Honey Farm that's right outside,
Did they make you wear the whole suit, like with the head covering and everything?
No, because you're not going to go mess around with the bees. Although the bees, the honey, like I guess the bee stacks are there. I don't know.
Hive?
Yeah, there you go. The hive. Is that what it is?
I mean, I know the ones hanging from the trees are hives, or the box thing is hives.
No, the
we're
workers,
showing our ignorance about bees right now.
What an ad for us. Don't go to the scenic train in Branson, and also whatever bees live in duplexes. Bee Weaver, Unscaled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. Lost my voice there for a second. Jeremy Long here with my co-explorer, Amy.
Hello.
We're in beautiful Sin City in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios. And we're trying to give you hopefully some good ideas. Giving you a lot of junk, too. But hopefully some good ideas to get you thinking about, like, outside of the box, right? Outside of the box thinking, because you hit the road, you go to places, and yeah, the main things are the main things, but sometimes you want to see something different. Why does everyone go after the same Instagram photo? I don't get that. You know, you want to try to do something unique? Okay, we'll try to give you some unique things to go do, right? That's the whole point.
We'll try.
I don't know. You're looking at me like, what's wrong with my Instagram? Like, I'm not talking about your Instagram. I'm talking about their Instagram. These people listening to us. One of the places I've visited a couple of times over the years, and I really love, and I got a lot of friends over there now, and that's Williamsburg, Virginia. Williamsburg, I think a lot of people would be like, Williamsburg, isn't that a little bit bigger area? I think collectively it might be a little bit bigger. When you look at the historic triangle of Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown, maybe it might not fit into this category, but Williamsburg itself is actually a small town.
Right.
They're just one of these small towns that gets millions of visitors every year because of the colossalness that is called the colonial Williamsburg area.
Right. I think it's one of those places that people go for the history and to check it out. So they've built basically a whole entire industry on preserving the history and showing it to people. But the actual population of Williamsburg is very small. We were talking about it earlier, and you were surprised by how small it was. Do you remember what the number was?
I think it's like somewhere around 16 or 17,000 is the actual population of Williamsburg, which is kind of weird to me because that's the population of the town that we grew up in. And it was a very small town. And so to think about Williamsburg, you know, if millions of people went and visited Nederland, Texas,
Right.
Number one, I'd be like, is it the end of the world? Why are
Right.
people going there? But number two, like, it's just, you don't really think about, I guess, tourism on that kind of level for small areas and how, you know, just dependent and how it's ingrained into everything that comes in and out of that area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important. Like, it is a really cool place. Colonial Williamsburg is fascinating, especially, yes, if you do love history, but it's cool to just go check out because they have real live actors that live and breathe this stuff. And they don't pretend to be in the 17 and 1800s. They are in the 17 and 1800s. Like, you have to address them. I don't know if you have to address them in certain ways, but, you know, if you take out your iPhone, some of them will play along with you. Like, ooh, what is this? Like, one guy was like,
"Oh,
witchcraft." Yeah, no. One guy was like, what is this witchcraft? I mean, that doesn't give you permission to swipe through my photos, but okay. And it's a really interesting place that, you know, looking at the governor's palace and different things like that. I saw an actor that was doing a speech by George Washington. He was dressed up in colonial era fatigues and I don't know, not drag.
Costumery.
There you go, costumery. And he was giving a speech by George Washington. But if you go and do it, I can see where people would be like, okay, I saw that once. What else is there to do? Nearby are places like Busch Gardens. Busch Gardens, totally different feel than
Right.
colonial Williamsburg, right?
Yeah.
And some people would be like, well, it's still just a theme park.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's one of those things that falls along the line that, yes, you can do it once and maybe that's enough for some people. But if you go through different parts or different times throughout the year, like they do an incredible Halloween theme at Busch
Right.
Gardens. So like you can go to that multiple times and get a different experience.
Well, and going back to Colonial Williamsburg, you went during the day and then you went back in the evening for a ghost tour. And you said it was a totally different experience.
A totally different experience.
So there
right?
are ways to do those popular touristy things, but do them differently.
Yeah. Because the main, like the highlights, right? The Duke of Gloucester Street, which everyone there calls Dog Street, right? DOG. Dog Street. And that's where you're going to get the postcard shots, the horse-drawn carriages. That's where the actors and all of that fun stuff is, right? And, there's only so many times you could do the carriage rides and stuff like that. But right next to that is like the Curtis Square archaeological site. And you have to understand that this area, they call it the historic triangle, and it has such deep ties to the beginning of the United States of America that most of the area is still an active archaeological site. So you'll see active digs in different places, like right down the street at the Curtis Square archaeological dig, where they're still digging up the foundations of old homes and properties and places like the Bray School. The Bray School was, I believe, in the last year just reopened to the public, and it sat for years and years just in plain sight, and no one knew what this building was, and it turns out it's one of the oldest surviving buildings in the United States.
Oh, wow.
That was dedicated to the education of Black children in the 1700s, which was unheard of. Mm-hmm. And they just renovated it and opened it to the public very recently. So if you haven't been to the Williamsburg area in the last couple of years, there are all kinds of new things to go check out that are, yes, tied to Colonial Williamsburg, but it's not the same old stuff that you might remember as a kid if you did field trips to the area stuff.
Right. Well, you went to a few museums, and you went to the home of, is it George Wythe? George Wythe. Do you feel like that's something that you should do this or you should skip it?
George Wythe. So, there's all kinds of individual homes, like the George Wythe house, the Peyton Daniels house. Peyton Daniels. I looked at you like, there's different homes that have, or Peyton Randolph house that have a night and day kind of thing. Like, yes, go check it out because it's very much tied to the beginning of the United States. And a lot of these people like George Wythe were founding fathers. That guy signed the Declaration of Independence. And then or the Constitution. One of them. He'd signed something very important to us.
And he was murdered.
Yes, he was. And then there's the evening kind of stuff. Like you mentioned, the Peyton Randolph house has paranormal tours because it's supposedly a very, very haunted building that I didn't go inside that one at night. I'm not brave enough to do that. And then their museums are second to none, not only in Williamsburg, but also in Yorktown, where the famous siege of Yorktown, where Washington and his forces cornered General Cornwallis. Excuse me, I'm getting my history all mixed up here. General Cornwallis, and basically kind of ended the American Revolution, right? So there's all kinds of fun stuff. Sorry for our UK listeners. That's a little bit painful memory.
Well, so if people aren't into history, what else is there for them to do? If they're not into history and they don't want to go to Busch Gardens?
I'll tell you a very strange thing that I just found out about in the last year or so with Williamsburg is that they have a deep tie and a love for pancakes. And that sounds like some sort of joke, like I'm setting something up here. But they have a deep... I don't know where it came from. In fact, if you're from that area and you know why they have so many pancake houses and so why they have this deep love for pancakes in that area, please tell me.
So if you love pancakes, you should give it a shot.
If you like history and flapjacks.
Maybe there's a historical significance. Maybe it was easy to make when there wasn't many other options.
Maybe so. I don't know why. And it's been bugging me. And I need to research this. Why they love pancakes so much. Also Pigeon Forge.
Really?
I don't know why Pigeon Forge. They have such a love of pancakes too.
Okay.
Oh man, we'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. Check us out online, unscaledtravelshow.com, for all of our past episodes, interviews, things of that nature. Jeremy Long here with my co-explorer, Amy.
Hello.
Real quick, I was talking about Williamsburg, and I didn't do it justice because I got lost talking about pancakes for some reason. But for different things, check out like the Jamestown trails, which will take you through different areas around famous Jamestown, where one of the first settlements, the first settlement here in the United States. And also you can do guided tours through an app of the College of William and Mary campus, which is one of the oldest and most beautiful public ivies, is what they call them, public ivy campuses in the world, where a lot of our founding fathers were educated, things of that nature. So get down there, check it out. Another area that just kind of sprung to mind, you mentioned during the break, smaller, that is kind of known for one thing, but also has a lot more going on for it than we let on. A lot of times is like places like Salem, Massachusetts. Salem also known for the Salem witch trials, right? Right. And that's where a lot of the focus is. And we've gone during October, and they have a wonderful, there's that word, wonderful, haunted happenings weekends where millions of people descend on Salem, and it creates this wonderful like Halloween atmosphere that you can't find in a whole lot of other places. It's where movies like Hocus Pocus, at least parts of them, were filmed. So there is a lot of fun things, but it also has stuff outside of that one look too.
Right. I think the first time you go to Salem, you have to do all of that. You have to go to the Witch Museum and the Witch Trials Memorial. You have to go do the Hocus Pocus, if you grew up on that movie, do the Hocus Pocus location tours. You and I went to several of those places, the Ropes Mansion, the school, the home of the two main characters, Max and Danny. It's a private residence, but you can drive by it. Just please respect people's privacy. But a lot of places that you would see if you were just driving around, you may not recognize at first, but I think you have to do it one time. But the city has so much more going on outside of this. It also has a historical significance, and it's a lot of other, I wouldn't say hidden things, but things that if you're not from that area and all you know of it is witch trials, you probably don't even realize. Like there's a famous author from there, and I would say his house is probably a more well-known attraction. But I had no idea until we got there. And you're like, oh, look, there's Nathaniel Hawthorne's home.
Yeah. This is the place where Nathaniel Hawthorne was born. You know, it's almost like a secondary thing. Even in a place like this, where I guess, it's more fun. I guess the witch trials and the witch museum and all of these things, the witch house, are all more aesthetically fun. But like Nathaniel Hawthorne's birthplace, the House of Seven Gables is right near there. And I mean, we even found one of the oldest candy shops in the US.
It's right
and
across the street
right
from
across the street. And there's so many things that if you don't want to do the witch thing, or it's just not your thing to go do, there's still other things in that area that are well worth your attention.
Yeah. I mean, this area has lighthouses, so you can go do lighthouse tours. There's islands. You can do a harbor tour, and it'll take you out to some of the different islands. And just if you're not familiar with New England, part of America, in the fall, just the color of the leaves changing. There's so many hiking trails that you can go on and just experience that fall in New England feel that, like, I can't even really explain how pretty it is there if you happen to go in the fall.
Yeah. And if you're visiting that area and you have your own vehicle, you can fancy a drive to about 25 minutes north of Salem, or at least along the coast, is a wonderful place called Hammond Castle. Hammond Castle Museum, which was built when else in the 1920s when everything in the U.S. weird was built. But it's the guy who built it, you could do history, look up on him and everything. But it was built to be, it looks like a castle. And it was built to be, in his words, like a living museum. Like there's all kinds of secret passageways in the area. We've talked about it before on our show, talking about U.S. castles that actually exist. And yes, if you didn't know that, there are castles here in the United States. Not like castles in France and Austria, like those kind of castles, moats and
these are more weird castles. Most of ours are weird castles.
Most of the people who built our castles are weird.
They were eccentric.
Yes. Poor people are weird. Rich people are eccentric. But it does. They have the haunted and paranormal tours that go there. They have, he used to have, talking about these passageways. He would play, and it was, I think his first name was John, not the guy who did Jurassic Park, but John Hammond. This guy who built this castle, right? He inserted all these passageways, and he would basically, like at night when these people would stay, he would jump out from passageways and be like, "What do you think about the castle?"
He would scare them.
He would scare the bejesus out of people for fun because he wanted people to like enjoy and think weird things about this castle while he was living here. It's just one of these strange things that only exists in New England. And God help me, I love New England so much because there's so many places like this that just, it's not on the main highway. You have to drive along the coast. And it kind of, I would imagine driving up to Hammond Castle Museum is like the beginning of like a novel. Like, like a novel like this is going to end poorly for you. Like, they're never going to find me here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know this is where it's going to end for old Germ.
But, I had a lot of fun when we went to Salem a couple of years ago. We didn't stay just in that area. We did explore a little bit more of the coast of the state and then down into Rhode Island. But for me, one of the more fun things we did was we went down to Fall River and went to the Lizzie Borden house, which is now a bed and breakfast. And I know we've talked about it before on the show, but it's one of those things in the U.S. It's a story I would say most people have heard.
Yeah.
But getting to see it and like hear from the curators, is that what it's called?
Tours? The tour guides.
The tour guides, like what they think happened, because they've done extensive research into it. Like, it was really interesting to actually learn more about the story.
Yeah. It's like, if you don't know, it's a famous murder house where a double homicide took place in the 1800s. And 1800s?
I don't know.
1892, I think. It was because I think it's like 400 years after 300 or 400 years right after the witch trials. But it's still open and active. It's now, because why not? It's a bed and breakfast. And they were telling us just the weirdest stories. And it's in this sleepy town. And it's actually, Fall River is a place where if you're a fan of Anthony Bourdain and No Reservations, he's did an episode in Fall River, their connection to the Azores Islands off of Portugal. And, so there's all this kind of interconnected histories and international kind of intrigue there. And then along the way, because I think it's about 3 hours south of Salem as the crow flies. Because you got to go around. If you go through Boston, that's another like 3 hours right there. But if you go around it, it's about 3 or 4 hour drive. But along the way, you have places like Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts, where, U.S. American Revolution stuff. We were talking about that in Williamsburg and Yorktown and all of that. Yes, it's more history leaning, but there are all kinds of little cities that have these different feels, and then Cape Cod and just.
Yeah.
So, you talk about these little areas that are known for maybe one or two things, but once you branch out a little bit, from the Salem or any of these kind of areas, you can find so much more with just a little bit of Googling.
Yeah.
A little bit of digging.
We spent a whole morning just driving around looking at lighthouses, and you're like, who cares about lighthouses? But when you've never actually seen a lighthouse in person, it's really interesting because they're all different. And
we have sad little stories.
But like some of these lighthouses are actually people's homes. It blew my mind.
There was
I
a
had
private
no
one.
idea.
Remember that one that we drove up and it was like some dude's house?
It was a neighborhood, and one of the houses was a lighthouse.
And the guy was outside like washing his car. And he was
What's
just
it like
staring
to
at us.
live in a lighthouse?
And he was like, don't you dare stare at my lighthouse. This is my lighthouse.
Don't turn around in my driveway.
And make you do your best Scooby-Doo impression. Ruh-roh. It's Unscaled Travel Show. We'll see you guys next time.